Okay, interestingly, well, I don't know if it's interesting. It's interesting to me. Ethylene glycol, which is what makes antifreeze not freeze, is poisonous. So if you drain your radiator or if you have a coolant leak and a big puddle of this stuff gets on the ground, especially the green stuff, I don't really know about the orange stuff. Probably not good for you anyway. But the green stuff is ethylene glycol and it's poisonous to humans and animals, and a dog might lap it up because it's sweet to the taste. I don't recommend that you taste it, but if you taste it, don't taste more than a couple of ounces because you will first feel like you're getting drunk and then you'll be dead. Ethylene glycol poisoning is dangerous and probably kills many animals every year. Probably some kids and shit too, because it tastes, if a kid finds a puddle of something sweet, like a little kid, I mean, I used to eat ants right off the tree because I thought they were good. Kids are nasty, they'll eat anything. Mud, dirt, children. How did we survive? Good question. Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods. I haven't seen you in forever. It feels like since the last video. Once again, I have been enlisted by the higher ups here at Hopper's Hot Rods to go through the next phase of build on this A-Team van. And the next phase is technically 3 phases. I never forget a phase. Wiring. It's going to be the thing, and step 1 is we're going to be culling out all the wires that we don't need, that were left over from when it was a throttle body injection, and that's a little job in and of itself because there's just a handful of wires that are just hanging out. All that needs to go. Old cruise control wires, OBD sensor wires, whatever. And everything under the dash, everything that went to the gauges that isn't going to be used. So a handful of stuff. We could leave a lot of that stuff, but the customer who's having this work done is likely to see this video. So I got to do it somewhat correctly. So let's dive right in, rip this stuff off. Then phase 2 is going to be engine harness, wiring to get the engine up and running. And phase 3 will be gauges, everything from the fuel gauge to the electronic speedometer, volts, water temperature, oil pressure, whatever we decide to put on here. Oh, tachometer. And we'll be discussing how that ties in with this Holley management system. So let's get after it. All right, I'm going to get you a nice vantage point where you can watch all the wiring come out. This is one of those super high expensive camera mounts. Should do the trick. I started tracing this wire back, and I think it's an accessory wire, and it was one of the ones I was going to redo or cull out as unneeded, but I'm not really sure what happened. I remember drinking a Mountain Dew, and now it's, oh no, this is the kind of situation where something bad happens. This is cut. Okay, do you recognize this? Me either. But it says AC on it, so it's probably air conditioning. Nope, no, that's AC Delco. It's tied in here, which is tied into this, which ties into some of this which hooks to these, but then this thing goes over here to this deal, which goes into this bundle of stuff here, which feeds back to here. This is, I know what that is, but I don't know which one of that is. That's a flasher. That's probably for the hazards, and this one is probably for the turn signals, or that's exactly backwards. One of the two. This thing, however, is, I don't know, but maybe it's something, because there's more stuff up here. Here's a box of stuff. Whatever that is it's still there. I got a little bit to figure out here. Okay, enough dramatic panic. Believe it or not, I think I've got most of the superfluous wiring culled out. This is the cruise control plug, and I'm going to leave that because this guy might want cruise control in the future. You might want it on this build. I'll check and find out. This is the main wiring harness for the column. This is part of the dash wiring, and all I have to do is pin that out and figure out which is left turn signal, right turn signal, high beam indicator. Just a test light in a few minutes. Shouldn't be that complicated, really. Just the stuff I need for gauges. Speaking of gauges, that has not been decided yet. If you guys want to comment on what sort of gauges you recommend for the A-Team van, feel free to leave it in the comment section. I actually do read that stuff when there are comments. This is all air conditioning stuff. This is the power window for the passenger side. This is the power door lock for the passenger side. The driver's side is all manual, but it's a long way to reach over there, so I installed power door and power window off of a different van, which can be easily reached from the driver's seat. That's radio, and I'm going to redo that and make it neat and tidy. The rest of this stuff is all just normal stuff. It's not that bad, really. Yeah, this is a wire that goes up into the overhead console to trigger things. Yeah, it's not really that bad now. This is going to be for the power adapter, cigarette lighter adapter, whatever you call it. So yeah, not too bad. Now it's just a matter of going through and refining and cleaning everything up. I've also identified all the wires that I plan to keep out of this bundle here. Really, the only thing left to get rid of is this stuff. And this was all the old throttle body injection wiring stuff. Again, I'll pin these out or check them. If there's a couple that are on fuses that I can just label and use for things under the hood, I might keep a couple of them just for triggering things under the hood if I need to, and having a couple of extra hot leads for switching relays or what have you. But at the very least, this could all be bundled up and tucked away, and this is all the stuff needed for the vehicle. And there's a couple of little odds and ends left to identify and get rid of. This is I know what that is. That's the fan control relay that comes off of the air conditioner, so when you turn the air on, it kicks the fan on. I'll probably rewire that. Most of this stuff is still pretty good, though. I'm going to clean up these connections here. This is your main power lug distribution area where the alternator wire feeds in. There's a fusible link here for that, and that's going to go over here to the alternator. This is the alternator exciter wire, if you want to call it that. It gets to a 12-volt switched source, which will be over here. So when you turn the key on, it starts figuring out whether or not you need power coming off this and charging your battery. And that's it. Now the battery is going to go here. The beauty of the Holley system is it only needs a few wires to run, and they're all sort of on their own except for the ones that go to the battery and one or two switched wires from the ignition, and the rest is done all in its own harness. So we'll get to that on phase 2 All right, that's got it for this episode. It's a short episode. It's just about removing all the unnecessary wires and identifying what we're going to keep, what we're going to get rid of. And so in the meantime, let me know what kind of gauges you think we should throw on this thing. It's going to need an electronic speedometer, so keep that in mind. White face might be cool, but I kind of like the retro styling. Here's what it looked like in the 80s, and I think it'd be cool to keep a similar style. Why not? So let me know what you think of that. So as far as gauges, this is what they looked like in the 80s when this van was new, and I kind of like that style. I think we could keep a similar style. I've got a different bezel. So one of the options we have for gauges is this is the original one again. I mean, I guess we could make that work, have this converted to an electronic speedometer, but I don't know. I think I'd rather just have all aftermarket gauges that were easy to replace if they ever went bad. We've got water and oil sport comp auto meters right there. We could just do fuel, charging, speedometer, and tachometer and carve out these plastic bezels. Or an option is, I found a later model van that had just this big square opening, or rectangular opening rather, and so I could use a template. I could put gauges however I wanted in there too. Just an option. Think about it. So the gauges are a puzzle. We'll figure that out. But the main thing is that they're readable, usable, and serviceable, because this thing is really just a custom work truck. It's going to be driven. It's going to be driven hard. It's going to be driven in all weather. So it's not just going to be driven to car shows and rubbed with a diaper. If it snows, it's going to get snow on it. You know, that's the whole idea. Usable, functional, serviceable. So enjoy whatever it is you're doing, and I'll see you on the next episode, which won't be too long. I'm going to start cranking these things out.